And for this next video, we're gonna talk about how to convert a decimal number to a hexadecimal number. So how can we do this? Well, first, you need to understand that a decimal number is based on a base 10 system. Now, what about the hexadecimal system? Notice that it's composed of two words, hexa and decimal. Hexa corresponds to 6. As we could see here, decimal corresponds to 10. And so if we add 6 and 10, this will give us 16. So the hexadecimal memory is a base 16 system. We need to know the numbers that corresponds to the hexadecimal system from the decimal system. So the number 0 in the decimal system has the same value in the hexadecimal system. So 0 corresponds to 0. Then 1 corresponds to 1. 2 corresponds to 2. 3 corresponds to 3. 4 corresponds to 4. 5 corresponds to 5. Then 6 corresponds to 6. 7 corresponds to 7. 8 corresponds to 8. 9 corresponds to 9. Then 10 corresponds. Now once you get to 10, that's where it changes. 10 doesn't correspond to 10. 10 in the decimal system corresponds to A in the hexadecimal system. 11 corresponds to B. 12 corresponds to C. 13 corresponds to D. 14 corresponds to E. 15 corresponds to F. And you stop at 15 because when you include 0 going up to 15, that's 16 numbers. So the hexadecimal system is based on 16 different numbers and letters. Now, we're going to talk about how to convert a decimal number to a hexadecimal number using calculator. Let's begin with 279. So how can we convert 279, which is a base 10? Base 10 number, that's a decimal number, into a hexadecimal number. The first step is to take 279 and divide it by 16. And you can get a 17.4375. So here we have an integer of 7. And then we need to find a remainder. To find a remainder, multiply 16 by 0.4375. That will give you a remainder of 7. Then start with this number 17 and divide that by 16. So let's move on to the next row. 17 divided by 16 is equal to 1.0625. So that's 1 as an integer. And to find the remainder, multiply 16 by 0.0625. And that will give you a remainder of 10. And then you need to take the 1 divided by 16. 1 divided by 16. Now, we really don't need to do the division here because 1 does it go into 16. I mean 16 is going to 1. So we could say it's 0. Remainder 1, 0. But if you did it, let's say if you taken 1 when you divided by 16 and you're gonna get a point 0.0625. Then, so look at this number, you'll see 0 here. And then if you multiply 16 by 0.625, you'll get 1. But you really don't need to do the division. You can see that 16 goes into 10 times with a remainder. Now, once you get a 0, this is when you stop. So, focus on this number. 1, 10, and 7. I'm gonna rewrite it, but let me get rid of this stuff first. So, we had 1, 10, and 7. 7, 10, 1. So the remainders, you want to convert them to a hexadecimal number as a decimal. Is 1 as in 1 as a hexadecimal number, and based on the chart, 1 corresponds to 1. Then 10 corresponds to A. Then 7 corresponds to 7. Now 1 is the most significant digit. And 7 is the least significant digit. We need to write it in this order from the most to the least significant digit. 1, A, 7. So therefore, 279 in the base 10 system as a decimal is 1A7 as a hexadecimal, so we can write a subscript of 16 to indicate that this is a hexadecimal number.